Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a super interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the HR Knives Hitman Integral, OEM'd by Riyadh. I bet this knife is flying under the radar for so many people right now. This is a super nice knife. It's not going to be for everybody, but they're doing a couple of different aesthetic things that I think are neat, and their pricing for what this is, I think is really good. And also, my goodness, the quality, like this is just oozing Riyadh quality. Very cool. I will link this down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Overall length is coming in at 8.5 inches. It is not it's not quite 8.5. It's like 8.4. Blade length is, I'm going to go ahead and call this 3.85 inches. And then your cutting edge is about 3.5. This has really, really good blade to handle ratios. And it also, it's like, it kind of makes me think of that luxury sports car. Like it has, there's something about this that looks, you know, like an exotic, you know, sports car. Like that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting here. You can tell me what you think. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the 80-10 and my own Excalibur, you can see here that this knife is essentially the same overall size overall length as both. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. A little bit bigger than the PM2, definitely bigger than the Para 3. And then finally, up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? It is phenomenal. So this has like an overlay, and it is a frame lock, but it's a frame lock with an overlay so that you can, you know, squeeze on the knife and it doesn't really matter. You're not going to push that frame lock further in. But yeah, it's not a liner lock. It is actually part of the integral frame. It's just a really cool way of doing this. And it also does have a steel lock bar insert in there. Also, access to it is just perfect. It peaks up. It doesn't peak up, right? But it's carved out on either side. So your disengagement is ridiculously cozy. Ridiculously cozy. Look how smooth that is. It really feels like they just like put a big plop of butter in there. It is so controlled. It is so beautifully smooth. Oh my gosh, I cannot feel the bearings at all. It's just wonderful. Action feels great. This is a light switch flipper. You can push button it, but it's not nearly as comfortable to do. This is more of a light switch, but it's perfect. Like the one thing that deploys the knife, your only option for deployment, does it absolutely perfectly, and I think that that's spectacular. So the action is phenomenal, disengagement's phenomenal. There is no double clutch or anything like that. It's just really, really good. Let's do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a little thick. It's a little bit on the thick side. They talk about this on the website that, you know, everybody seems to be going, you know, lighter, smaller, thinner, compact, and they didn't do that. They went heavier and bigger and thicker on purpose, and this isn't like massive, you know, it's not like Miguron Geddon overbuilt, like, no, not even close. But it is robust. It does feel exactly like they say it on Aurora Blades is where I found the listing. It says, you know, we wanted the presence to be there, like in hand, you're like, oh my gosh, like this thing is kind of a tank, right? So that was done intentionally. But yeah, it is on the thicker side. Not too thick to carry, though. This is not a knife that's so big and so thick that I'd be like, no, I don't want that in my pocket. No, it actually carries, you know, fairly compact. Length and height up against the PM2. You can see here, I mean, this is still a normal knife-sized knife in terms of like looking at it this way. It's just this way. It's a little bit chunky. Excuse me. Burped on a review. That's a first for me. I do it on live streams all the time. I have my, what do I get here? I got my cringe, my cringe Starbucks coffee here. It's a Trenta, and then I do the, I don't like any real sugar in my coffee. I always do sugar free, and then I do the vanilla protein cold foam. I think that tastes pretty good. And I did just a single shot there, but That's what that was today. So just in case you're like, oh, geez, I'm glad I'm not there to smell it. Well, there you go. Anyways. But yeah, carry profile. It's chunky, but not too chunky. Let's go ahead, just because I have the calibers right here, I don't want to lose them. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness. I bet that's at least 165. Might be thicker. Hold on, I'm just trying to zero this out and get it absolutely zero. Okay, 187,000. But basically Hinder XM24 thickness. Like that's we're getting fairly thick, right? Not a quarter inch. That's where it's like thick, you know. But this is pretty heavy duty. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So what are we looking at for materials? So it's titanium, and then this piece here is PVD. Then we have some more anodized titanium, just obviously a lot. Integral titanium frame. And then we have an M390 blade, and that's a big chunk of M390. So quite a bit. And then on the DLC one, I think it's just the whole frame is DLC. And I don't know. I imagine they still have it milled like this, right? Like this piece that they put in here. It's just like, and on the picture, the entire frame looked like it was just DLC. But I imagine they put this piece in here too. But this is PVD on this guy. So I'm going to guess that this weighs at least 6.5 ounces. No. Wow. It's not nearly as heavy as I thought it was going to be. 5.6. That's not bad at all for an integral. I mean, a full tie XM18 generally weighs between 5.5 and 6 ounces. So I don't think that's bad at all. I just really thought, that it was going to weigh more. Balance, not bad. It's maybe just a little back from the middle of the primary index finger position, but not bad at all. Probably why the blade is so thick, to help balance out that heavy frame. Let's go and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I think the pivot screw is a T8, I would guess. Ooh, is it bigger? Ooh, I think maybe it's a T10. That would be lovely. It is. The pivot is a T10. Very, very cool. And then you have one screw back here for the pocket clip because there's no reason to take out. So there's like an inlay thing here. And I guess you can take that out. But that's also going to be a T6. And then your lock bar insert screw is probably T6. But there's no reason to remove any of this. It's one of the nice things about an integral is there's really nothing, outside of just like removing the blade for periodic maintenance. There's nothing else you need to take apart. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. We weighed it. We did the hardware check. We measured the blade stock thickness. It's time to move on into the meat and potatoes. Ergonomically, this is a dream. Oh, man. Absolutely beautiful. Excuse me. Absolutely beautiful and super comfortable ergonomics. Pocket clip is down, and even though the edge of this is a little pointy and pokey, I don't actually interact with it in a way that it bothers me while I'm gripping it. Nowhere near what I'd call a hot spot. The edges are super knocked down. This is heavily contoured, right? This notch up here for your thumb is just so comfortable. The curvature of the flipper tab does not aggressively point backwards into your finger, which is something that has always baffled me with people who make flippers. Like the flipper in the open position pointing back or even at 90 degrees is so uncomfortable, right? Doesn't do that. Kind of has that Hinder approach where it's kind of the flipper is designed to, have that curvature to allow your index finger to be comfortable. There's a little choke up spot here. You have to be a little bit careful because you're pretty close to the edge. Since we're on this category, let's go ahead and look at the plunge grind. That does thicken up fairly quick. This bothers some people and it doesn't bother other people, but I'll let you guys kind of make that decision for yourself. The elephant in the room is the fact that they chose to go with a recurve blade. I think I can predict what the majority will say here is that it would have been perfect or it would have been better if they had not done the recurve. And I agree with you, but this is subjective. A recurve has its benefits, and to some people, the recurve is aesthetically better. I think that it would just be cool if in the future they did a version of this with, a straighter, maybe a totally different blade shape. Because this is kind of, this is really like kind of a trailing point recurve tanto, right? The other interesting thing is that edge the flat comes out to a bevel that they could have brought all the way down here, but then it comes to another bevel, which is interesting. You can see how this whole area here, right? You have this wedge, the flat, the first bevel, the second bevel, and then this area here, which is obviously hollow ground. Really interesting. But I think it would have looked better with a straighter edge to me, but that doesn't, I mean, my thoughts on that are not going to be shared universally, right? You tell me what you think. The blade is beautifully done. Riot typically does their M through 92, 60 to 61, which is fine. That's where the standard should be. M through 90 can go harder, and there are benefits to it going harder, like 62, 63. Some people even say 64. I think that's probably too brittle. M through 90 is not a tough steel, and even at 60. So I don't know. I think probably 62 sounds just about right. But 60 to 61 is fine. I think that's good. I'm glad that Riot doesn't dabble in that 59. Why not just, how about a tinfoil gum wrapper at that point? 59 M through 90 is a joke. So I think it's good that they're doing 60. Just absolutely beautiful on the blade. And then the inlay, some people are going to like it, some people are not. I think it's cool. We don't typically see stuff like this. So I think it looks nice. The other thing that's really nice about this knife is that there's absolutely no billboarding or branding anywhere. I mean, if you hate the aesthetic, fine. If you love the aesthetic, it's not bogged down visually by any advertising of who they are, right? Another cool thing about this knife, some people care about this, but what it comes in. This comes, and by the way, it comes with an extra pivots and some extra screws, all those other little screws there. But it comes in this sort of cylindrical container. I don't know what happened to the actual lid of it, but it comes in this, which is pretty neat. I've never actually seen, a knife come in something like that. Well, I guess I've seen, similar things before, but it's neat. And it doesn't feel at all that they're charging you any extra for how it ships. We'll get to the price here in a second. Almost looks like the back of a round there for the pivot. It says HR Knives. It's kind of cool. It sticks up a bit. And then you've got like the pivot collar and then the PVD part. I love this milling right here. I think that looks nice. Love the big holes in the back. It's always interesting to see how we do the integral frame here. And if you're new or you don't understand what I'm saying, integral frame meaning it's confusing because the original frame lock was called the Reeve Integral Lock, which some people confuse. You can have an integral lock and not have an integral frame. This is an integral frame with the integral lock, right? So the lock is part of the frame, but the entire frame, the frame is the entire, handle. It's not two pieces. Despite, I keep hearing this every now and then in the comments, I heard that it should be cheaper to make an integral. Wherever that's coming from is wrong. It's incorrect. Milling a single block of titanium, the amount of wear, machine wear, at least for now, maybe in the future this becomes an easier and simpler process, more streamlined process. But for now, taking two thinner pieces of titanium and then milling them into scale shapes is less machine work by quite a bit than taking a huge block of titanium and milling it out so that everything, including the lock itself and how all the pieces on the exterior fit and how the blade fits into it, milling all of that out, carving all of that out, right? Like a big loaf of bread, right? And they carve everything out to make it fit perfectly. This is much more involved than two pieces of titanium. So yeah, that's going to increase the price for sure. But anyways, the pocket clip is one of the only things that I really have like a major gripe with because they do that thing where it's like blip and then it's over. Like just end it right here. Because then you have to push the material underneath this. The little ramp is what I want to mash into my pocket seam so that the clip starts to raise over it. I gotta first get the lip of the pocket seam underneath this, then it starts to go up, which is slightly irritable. And it would be less irritable if the pocket clip wasn't so tight, but it is. So there's a little bit of fighting going in and out of the pocket. It's far from the worst I've seen, but I wish that was different. Maybe if they decide to do a version in the future, that'll be a little better. But it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. The stop pin is located right here, and your close position stop pin is right there, which is really good. We don't want to have, if we're going to have the stop pin impact this area here behind the blade. You want it way back here so that it doesn't mess with, like it's not altered by removing material, over time sharpening. We've had this issue a lot. We've seen this issue a lot in the knife world where the stop pin is like contacting right here behind the sharpened edge, and that's not good because if you remove enough material to alter where the stop pin interacts with that spot, well, then the blade starts to sit lower and lower and lower inside the handle until the edge is contacting the frame when you close it, which is obviously not good. So that's nice that we have the stop pin like this, where in the open position it's here, and in the closed position it is like well within this like tucked in area inside the blade that will basically never wear down. So that's cool. What is the price on this? This is a Riot built, pretty involved. There's a lot going on with the blade. It's M390. We have a multi-piece frame, but at the core, an integral frame. It's contoured, right? This is a really nice integral. They actually managed to get it under that 400 mark. If you watch my content a lot, when I talk about knives like this, like my own knife, my own integral was really, really hard to get at $400 when we initially released it. It was really difficult to get there. Integrals exist that cost less, but you can always point to factors that allow them to cost less. Whether it is a much, much, much smaller knife or it's a much simpler design, right? Like the Spyderco Slim, for example, the Italian integral, that costs substantially less. It's also very obviously a much, much simpler design that would be much, even though it is an integral, it would be much, much, much easier to create. And then there's also integrals that cost substantially more, but a lot of times they're more involved. I've thought for sure that we were going to see this at $450 to $500, and there is a $450 version of it that's full DLC, but this version right here comes in at $398. Do I think that that's fair? Oh my gosh, yes, I have no complaints whatsoever. That's a really, really great price tag for what this is. Is this knife for everybody? Absolutely not. This is not a knife that I would recommend to everybody. This is a knife that I would recommend to very few people. Collectors, enthusiasts, and especially people who like integrals. If you have been regularly shopping in this territory and you're familiar with what $400 gets you and you like integrals, right? Then, if all those criteria are met and you look at this knife and you go, I like that look, then yes, money well spent to you. If you are not, perfectly within those parameters though, there's so many good knives out there that are $400. Like, I think this is a good $400 Riot integral. I think it's really, really good. But you have to, it's like I said, you have to specifically be in the market for that to, pay that much. But yeah, so for those people, absolutely pick it up. I think you'll really, really love it. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.